In pro sports, you've got your flashy, glamorous teams, and then you have the teams that are just tough. The ones forged in fire, defined by pure grit. Well, today we are diving deep into the history of a team that is the absolute definition of that second group, the Detroit Pistons. And that really is the central question, isn't it? How does a team that literally started in a factory go on to build not one, but two of the toughest, grittiest championship squads the NBA has ever seen? It's an incredible story, and believe me, their identity is no accident. It's baked right into their DNA, from day one. So let's get into it. Let's see how this small-town company team became a powerhouse known for its blue-collar heart. All right, Section 1, from factory to Detroit, the Piston-powered origin. And yeah, you heard that right. Long before they were the infamous bad boys of the NBA, the Pistons were, well, factory workers. Their story doesn't start in some huge metropolis. It starts in a much smaller city, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And their journey? Man, it happened fast. Check this out. They start in 1937 as a company team, the Fort Wayne Zollner Pistons. Just a few years later, 1941, they're in a pro league, the NBL, and they were good. They won back-to-back championships in 44 and 45. By 1949, they're right there as a charter member of the modern NBA we know today. And then in 1957, they make the big move to Detroit. And I mean, what a perfect fit, right? A city built on industry for a team born in a factory. So where'd that name Pistons even come from? Well, it's not some focus-grouped marketing name. It's as real as it gets. The team's founder, a guy named Fred Zollner, owned a company, the Zollner Corporation. And what do they make? You guessed it, pistons for engines. The team was literally named after the product their own players might have been making on the factory floor. How cool is that? That whole industrial engine room identity, it's been there from the very beginning. Okay, next up. Forging the Bad Boys, an era of both infamy and glory. Now, after they moved to Detroit, things weren't great for a long time. We're talking decades of struggle. But then came the 1980s, and they started putting together a roster that would not only change the NBA forever, but would perfectly reflect the tough, no-nonsense attitude of Detroit itself. This, my friends, was the birth of the Bad Boys. And if you want to pinpoint where the revolution started, it's with one guy, Isiah Thomas. When they drafted him in 1981, they got so much more than just a player. This guy was fiery, he was incredibly skilled. He wasn't just on the team, he was the team. He was the engine, the heart and soul, the superstar they were going to build a whole dynasty around. But Zeke couldn't do it alone, right? And the front office surrounded him with the perfect cast of characters. I mean, just look at this roster. You've got Bill Laimbeer, the ultimate villain you love to hate. Joe Dumars, the quiet assassin who'd lock you down and hit the clutch shot. A young, wild Dennis Rodman grabbing every single board. The original enforcer, Rick Mahorn. And of course, Vinny the Microwave Johnson, who could get hot in an instant off the bench. Put them all together, absolutely one of the most feared and intimidating lineups the league has ever seen, period. And if you need any proof of the reputation they built, just listen to what their number one rival, Michael Jordan himself, had to say. The dirty play and the flagrant fouls and unsportsmanlike conduct, I haven't agreed with the methods they used. Man, that says everything, doesn't it? The Pistons didn't just beat you on the scoreboard, they got in your head, under your skin. They were physical, they were in your face, and they did not care what you thought about it. But getting to the top was not easy. In fact, this team was really forged in failure, in these absolutely devastating losses. First, in 1987, you have the Bird Steal. Larry Bird just rips their hearts out in the final seconds, costing them a trip to the finals. Then, a year later, in '88, they're in the finals and lose on that infamous phantom foul on Laimbeer. I mean, these were soul-crushing moments. But for this team, it just made them tougher. It just added more fuel to the fire. And this, right here, this ticket stub from the '88 finals, it's like a relic of that pain. It just shows you how agonizingly close they got, only to have it snatched away. That specific loss, man, it lit an unbelievable fire under them. They weren't just thinking about getting back to the finals. They were on a mission to take what they truly believed had been stolen from them. And you know what? They did it. Vindication. In 1989, they got their ultimate revenge, sweeping the Lakers in the finals. And just to prove it wasn't a fluke, they ran it back in 1990, taking down the Trailblazers to become back-to-back NBA champions. The Bad Boys had finally reached the mountaintop. All right, so let's fast forward a bit. Into the early 2000s, the bad boys era was over, and the team went through this, well, let's call it a forgettable teal era. But out of that, a brand new Pistons identity started to emerge. They called it going to work. A different name for sure, but it was built on the very same blue-collar, gritty foundation. And nothing captured this new identity better than the 2004 NBA Finals. I mean, this was the ultimate underdog story, a total clash of styles. On one side, you've got the Hollywood Lakers, an absolute super team with Shaq, Kobe, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, just loaded with stars. And on the other side, the Detroit Pistons, a team built on, well, teamwork. You had Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace, Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince. No single megastar, just 5 guys playing as one cohesive defensive machine. Absolutely nobody gave them a shot. And that's exactly what made what happened next so incredible. The Pistons didn't just win, they absolutely dominated that Lakers super team, taking them down in 5 games. It was one of the biggest, most shocking upsets in the history of sports. This was a championship won not by individual star power, but by pure, collective, going-to-work grit. It was the perfect sequel to the Bad Boys story. And make no mistake, that championship was not a one-hit wonder. See this number? 6. That's how many years in a row this going-to-work crew made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. 6. From 2003 all the way to 2008. They were a legitimate, consistent powerhouse, all built on that foundation of defense and teamwork. Okay, on to our next section, the long road back, searching for a new peak. Because, as we all know, all great runs eventually come to an end. And the years that followed that incredible going-to-work era, well, they've been tough. A long period of struggle, with the franchise trying to find its next great identity. You can pretty much pinpoint the end of that era to a single moment, the 2008 trade that sent their leader, Chauncey Billups, away for Allen Iverson. That move effectively slammed the championship window shut. What came next was more than a decade of really hard times. Long playoff droughts, losing season after losing season, and they even set a pretty painful NBA record, with 14 straight playoff losses between 2008 and 2019. The franchise was definitely in a deep, deep valley. But then, in 2017, we saw this really symbolic shift. After almost 4 decades, 39 years of playing out in the suburbs, the team moved back home, right to the heart of downtown Detroit. And this was about so much more than just a new arena. It felt like a recommitment to the city itself, a way of signaling the start of a brand new chapter, one focused on rebuilding from the ground up. And that pretty much brings us to today. When you look at it, the Pistons' history is really a cycle, isn't it? It's all about dramatic peaks and deep valleys. It's about building these tough, gritty, championship-level teams from scratch. They've already done it twice. So the big question now is, can they capture that Piston-powered magic just one more time?